target Jewish students, your actions will not disappear into the darkness. We will shine a light on you that, thanks to Google and SEO, will follow you for the rest of your life. When you look for a job,
Somewhere in these waters right now, there are objects Iran cannot find. Iran laid naval mines throughout the Strait of Hormuz to close the world's most important waterway. The plan worked. For 6 weeks, global oil trade came to a near halt. But then something happened that Iran never planned for. The mines started drifting. The Persian Gulf's powerful bottom currents pushed them miles from where they were laid. And Iran, the country that placed them, lost track of where they went. Iran cannot open the strait. Not because America is stopping it. Because Iran cannot safely remove weapons it can no longer locate. The most powerful weapon in Iran's arsenal has become a prison that Iran built around itself. So America made a decision. If Iran cannot clear its own mines, America will do it for them, whether Iran likes it or not. And today, April 13th, the United States Navy began blockading every Iranian port, every ship, every direction, nothing in, nothing out. The trap Iran set for the world just closed around Iran itself. Let's start with what Iran actually put in the water, because most coverage gets this wrong. Iran deployed at least 3 types of naval mines in the Strait of Hormuz. First, moored contact mines. These are the classic spherical mines on cables anchored to the seabed. A ship hits one, it explodes. Second, the Maham 7, a seabed sticking mine that lies flat on the ocean floor, completely invisible to sonar and the naked eye, until a ship passes within range, triggering its sensors. Third, and most dangerous, drifting mines. These were never fixed to the seabed at all. They float freely, moved by currents, unpredictable in position, lethal to anything they touch. U.S. officials confirmed to CBS News in late March that at least a dozen mines had been placed. They were laid quickly using small IRGC fast boats, not systematically mapped, not carefully positioned, rushed, irregular, and now impossible for even Iran to fully account for. The New York Times broke the story that changed everything. Citing U.S. officials, Iran has lost track of some of the mines it laid. The Persian Gulf's powerful bottom currents caught them and pushed them miles from their original positions. This means Iran cannot safely tell ships where it is safe to sail, because even Iran does not have a complete map of the danger zones. Here is what happens when a modern warship hits a naval mine, and why this is so dangerous. In 1991, during Operation Desert Storm, the USS Princeton, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser, hit 2 mines in the Persian Gulf. The explosions cracked the ship's keel, injured 3 crew members, and took the ship out of the war for extensive repairs. That was a cruiser, one of the most heavily armored surface ships in the U.S. fleet. Now imagine what the same mine does to an oil tanker with a civilian crew. On April 11th, 2 U.S. Navy guided missile destroyers made history. The USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. and USS Michael Murphy became the first American warships to transit the Strait of Hormuz since the war began on February 28th. But what made this crossing different from any ordinary naval transit was a deliberate decision made before the ships entered the strait. The USS Michael Murphy switched on its automatic identification system, its public tracking transponder, and left it on. Maritime history professor Salvatore Mercogliano explained what this means. Quote, "You just don't throw AIS on by accident on a Navy ship. This is purposeful. They wanted to turn this on the far side of the strait to demonstrate that they have sailed through." Every ship tracking website in the world showed the crossing in real time. Iran could not deny it. The world could not miss it. So how does America actually clear mines from a waterway this complex? CENTCOM laid out a 3-layer approach. Phase 1. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers carry MH-60S Seahawk helicopters, equipped with dipping sonar and side-scan systems. These helicopters scan the seabed from above the water, detecting mine signatures without risking any surface ship. Phase 2. Littoral combat ships equipped with purpose-built mine countermeasures packages. The USS Canberra, USS Santa Barbara, and USS Tulsa are each equipped with unmanned underwater vehicles, specifically designed to hunt, classify, and neutralize naval mines. Phase 3, and this is where modern technology transforms the operation: autonomous underwater drones. The Knifefish UUV scans the seabed with millimeter-level sonar precision. It can classify a mine versus a rock versus debris without putting a single diver or sailor at risk. Once identified, remotely operated vehicles place neutralization charges that destroy the mine in place. The goal, as stated by CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, is not just to clear mines, but to establish and verify a specific transit corridor whose exact coordinates will be shared with the global shipping industry. Ships will know the precise safe route, insurers will cover it, and the world's oil trade, 20% of global supply, will begin moving again. On Sunday, April 12th, hours after Vance announced the Islamabad talks had failed, President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "Effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz." CENTCOM confirmed, the blockade of all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports begins today, April 13th, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It applies to vessels of all nations, every ship, every flag. If it is going to or from an Iranian port, it is stopped. Trump went further. He instructed the Navy to, quote, "seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas." This is an extraordinary extension of American naval power, essentially deputizing the U.S. Navy to enforce economic sanctions on the open ocean. Retired Admiral James Stavridis, former Supreme Allied Commander NATO, laid out exactly what enforcing this blockade requires. 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, at least 6 destroyers inside the Gulf, P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft covering approach corridors, and critically, cooperation from Gulf state navies, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Iran's Hormuz strategy was designed with a specific logic. Close the strait, create economic pain for the world, force the U.S. to negotiate on Iran's terms, then reopen on Iran's conditions, keeping permanent leverage. It was a masterclass in asymmetric leverage, until it wasn't. Here is the catastrophic irony of Iran's mine strategy. Before the war, Iran was exporting approximately 1.5 million barrels of oil per day, almost entirely through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's mines did not just close the strait to enemies, they closed it to Iran itself. Iran was already operating under crippling U.S. sanctions that had decimated its oil revenue. Its currency had lost over 80% of its value in 6 years. And then, to fight back, Iran closed the very waterway it needed to survive. But the deepest damage is strategic, not just economic. Every day Hormuz stays closed, the world accelerates its search for alternatives. Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline capacity is being expanded. The UAE's Fujairah bypass route is processing more traffic. Europe is securing new LNG contracts from the US and Qatar. Asian economies are diversifying supply sources. Iran's ultimate trump card permanently loses value with every week it keeps that card in play. Now here is the angle nobody in mainstream Western media is covering, and it is perhaps the most important geopolitical dimension of this entire crisis. When oil prices cross $165 per barrel, the $60 price cap that Western countries placed on Russian oil becomes economically irrelevant. European and Asian buyers who were struggling with Hormuz disruptions have been bending sanctions rules, buying Russian oil at whatever price, just to keep their industries running. Russia spent billions of dollars building a shadow fleet of tankers specifically designed to bypass Western sanctions. That investment is now paying off spectacularly. With Hormuz disrupted and global supply squeezed, Russian oil is in desperate demand regardless of the price cap. But Russia's gain goes deeper than oil prices. Russia has invested trillions of rubles into the Northern Sea Route, an Arctic shipping corridor connecting Asia and Europe entirely independent of the Middle East. Every day Hormuz stays dangerous, the Northern Sea Route becomes more attractive. Russia collects transit fees, nuclear icebreakers lead the convoys, and Putin's vision of Russia as the indispensable transit hub between East and West gets closer to reality. There is also a military intelligence dimension. Russia and China are monitoring every U.S. naval and air force movement in the Persian Gulf. How many carriers can the U.S. deploy simultaneously? How long can it sustain a blockade in a contested narrow waterway? What are the gaps in American naval capability when forces are concentrated in one region? These are not academic questions for Moscow and Beijing. They are operational intelligence, directly applicable to future scenarios in Taiwan and Ukraine. So where does this go from here? 3 paths, and only one ends well. Path 1. The mine-clearing operation succeeds faster than expected. U.S. autonomous underwater drones map and neutralize the mines within days. A verified safe corridor is published to the global shipping industry. The first tanker convoy moves through under U.S. Navy escort. Oil prices begin falling. Iran's leverage evaporates. And Iran, facing a naval blockade and no Hormuz card, comes back to the negotiating table on terms it previously refused. Path 2. The mine clearing takes longer than expected. Some mines are too deep, too scattered, or too sophisticated to locate quickly. The blockade holds but creates its own complications. China, which gets massive oil supplies through Hormuz, begins applying diplomatic pressure on both sides. The world gradually adapts, at enormous economic cost, while negotiations restart in a different format. Path 3. And the most dangerous. Iran responds to the blockade with force. The strait is only 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. Iran still has thousands of suicide drones, hundreds of shore-based anti-ship ballistic missiles positioned along its entire coastline. In a narrow, confined waterway, these are devastatingly effective weapons. Any American ship hit by an Iranian missile while enforcing the blockade triggers a military response that neither side can easily control. And for the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, every development in this blockade is existential. Their oil exports depend on Hormuz. Their desalination plants, which provide drinking water, need uninterrupted fuel supplies. Their entire economies are built on the assumption that the strait stays open. They are not spectators in this crisis. They are the most vulnerable players on the board. Iran spent 6 weeks trying to use Hormuz as a weapon against the world. But the weapon drifted. The mines scattered. The plan unraveled, and now, American autonomous drones are hunting those mines one by one in the dark water where Iran lost them. The blockade started today, the mine clearing continues, and Iran, trapped inside the weapon it built, is running out of cards to play. Subscribe and turn on notifications. This blockade changes everything, and we cover every development the moment it happens.